whatever, hey, whatever.
A Milwaukee artbeat.
That's what I'm saying. Milwaukee artbeat. Look how the people them sweet. Yeah, Milwaukee artbeat. Oh, the people them sweet.
I only care about the process. And it makes me an incredibly poor businessman because once I finish the project, I'm ready to go on to the next project. I don't want to market it, I don't want to sell it, I don't want to do anything with it. The joy for me has always been in making the things. And once I get those images made, I'm done. So I am hoping to turn it into a coffee table book with the urging of certain friends who suggest that maybe I am a little unambitious. Annie B.
Now, Steve, you also, besides the vast photography you have, you get into writing. You have a novel that you're just finishing?
Yes, I have a great segue into
perfect.
this section of Steve's interview. My goal as a writer is to demonstrate the beauty of the human soul. So let's talk about that a little bit. You did!
Wow, that sounds like Tolstoy or something.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I've always written stories, and I went back about 10 years ago to study writing seriously. And the same desire that I have to capture beauty in all its forms, really, as a photographer, extends all the way into my work as a writer, trying to show the real complex beauty of actual people. You know, I think people are complex and contradictory and, you know, immensely fascinating to follow in real life. And so I love nothing better than to spend a day, you know, immersed in the world of fiction. And so that's where that impetus comes from, I think.
You used to write mysteries and adventure stories as a little boy.
Yes,
so you started early.
I loved adventure stories. One of my all-time favorite genres. I read a lot of them, and the first story that I remember writing, and I don't actually remember writing it, of course, but my mom saved it in a big giant scrapbook, and so it still exists somewhere. And it was about this boy and his dog searching for a buried treasure, and they had all these clues they had to figure out, and I illustrated it, and it was classic.
Do you have some work that you brought with you?
I do.
Let's hear it.
I do.
We have a couple of poems, right? And then we have the excerpt from the short story.
Right. Which would you like to hear?
I want to hear one of the poems. What do you guys want to hear? Let's do the short story excerpt to close out because that's the longest portion. Right. That's the longest piece.
All right.
And the titles are, you want to start with Ella's Boarding House?
Sure, I could start with that.
That'd be wonderful.
So this is the poem that was published last year. It's a poem in blank verse, and it goes like this. I'll stand. My feet pad softly on the hardwood floors, 10 steps from bed to bathroom stall, as streetlights in the sun's reflected glow illuminate the worn, well-trodden path. I don't sleep well these days, or rather nights, lying in bed and staring at the ceiling, or going to pee, something I can control. This forced retreat from all I know and love does nothing to soothe the wounds I caused and only hints at the power she wields. I can admit to straying now and then, besmirching our vows before neighbors and God, but never in front of the kids. I swear, and rarely for more than a night or two. How many men have sat here naked, reading ingredients on the bottle of shampoo, or counting random blue and yellow tiles in the gray night that never seems to end? I wait with them at Ella's boarding house for the call that means I am forgiven now. The rays of morning sun begin to appear in lines on the popcorn-textured ceiling through many blinds coated in sloughed-off skin.
So that was published in Louisiana Literature.
Right, Louisiana Literature.
Just last year?
Yes.
Nice job!
A round of applause, man.
What else did
Leather just for you.
Let's hear Leather.
So
thank you. I'm glad you brought it.
Yeah, this is a poem about fathers and sons. I've noticed that much of my writing is about fathers and sons. I have a son. I have 2 kids. My son, of course, he doesn't even care to show up because he's too cool at 13. And it's homecoming. But my daughter did come because she loves me.
1+ for you.
And but it's important to realize that when you write a poem, the eye of the poem is not necessarily the poet. In this case, I really wrote this from the perspective of my son after my wife and I divorced, and was exploring how guilty I felt about not being with him all the time, and how he must have felt without me there. Leather. My dad, believing you know a man by the shoes he wears, sits on his bed, shoe care kit open, and massages dark polish on his slip-on loafers with a cloth diaper, buffing them wine red, sliding cedar trees in them to let them breathe, help keep their shape. I'm alone in the driveway, shooting baskets, a game of pig I'm losing.
Wow.
You can put your hands together for that.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, the poetry tends to be a little dark.
All right, we've got enough time for you to do your excerpt from one of my favorite titles ever.
All right, this is a short story I wrote called The Use of Technical Analysis in Non-Standard Applications. I spent about a decade in the investment business, and this is the only thing I got out of it. Part 1.
Listen close.
Part 1, identifying patterns of behavior. The principles of successful stock speculation are based on the supposition that people will continue in the future to make the mistakes they have made in the past. Thomas F. Woodlock. True quote. The girlfriend chart started as a joke, something to pin up on the tackboard next to the value line average since 1920, something to laugh about over drinks with the other analysts. I began them several girlfriends ago, after I started working for Carlton Partners as an equity analyst. Walter Carlton, the chairman and a legendary investor in his own right, says the only thing you can be sure of in the market is this: it fluctuates. Women, it turned out, fluctuate too. Carlton Partners disavows technical analysis or charting as a means to identify value in the stock market, but I was a closet chartist anyway. It was so much simpler than the tedium of 10K filings and annual reports. I believed that the charts meant something because people behave in predictable ways, even women. Cup and saucer bottoms, runaway gaps, blow-off tops, lines of resistance, and Elliott waves. All there on the charts, for women and for stocks. I don't know exactly when the girlfriend charts quit being a joke, but by the time Kara came into my life, I believed them. She didn't know about my charts. I met her, initials KMT, in the basement laundry room of our Gold Coast apartment building on a Sunday morning. She was waiting for her clothes to dry, reading Against the Gods, Peter Bernstein's book about the history of risk, and a favorite of mine. When I went back to the laundry room a week later to wash my sheets, they smelled of her Freesia lotion. She had gone to Michigan Law and now was speeding along the partner track at Latham and Watkins. On paper, KMT was a buy.
Nice job, Steve Dobbs. Give it up, Steve Dobbs. Thank you so much. Don't forget, you need to go and get another interview from haywhatever.info in the other room.